A pleasure to meet all at last. And so, we are at it once again with the Vlog-A-Thon Season 6. So I'm back here once again, specifically to talk about the many aspects of 2023, but this time we're going to be focusing on the months of July, August, and September. This, of course, is the third quarter of the year, and I feel like that the same thing is going to be held pretty much throughout the entirety of a majority of this series here. So, to talk about the third quarter of 2023, it's pretty much in between with the first and second quarter, because while it's not entirely as uneventful as what we had talked about in the first quarter, the second quarter, of course, was probably where the biggest highlights of the year were truly at. I'd say just about as much of a highlight would have to be when we had one big trip for the last time that summer. That, of course, was in North Carolina. No joke. Apart from the one trip that we had in Greenville, which of course was my brother's old hometown and town that he had gone to for college during those years in the 2020s, we also went ahead and made a trip down to the town of Willard. And this, of course, was accompanied by a condo which, believe it or not, overlooks the Atlantic Ocean, and was even accompanied by the likes of the infamous Cape Fear. That I have actually gotten word that there was supposedly a spooky tale of some sort, some kind of legend that happened to take place and how Cape Fear got its name. But this is something I have yet to look into. I don't know why in 3 years I have not found out about this, but again, it could be argued that there's a lot of reasons behind this. It could be my work, it could be getting my finances under control, it could be my boys. But to get back on track here, let's just say that that trip in particular in Cape Fear and the town of Willard itself was huge. There's no doubt about it that North Carolina is full of insane big places out there. But Wilmington really does have itself a load of different things to showcase. First off, there was a Kilwins in the area. And second off, there was a unique fried chicken joint. And third off, there was a huge comic books and vintage collectibles store. So, I feel like that those are just a few mere examples, but to be fair, we only spent one evening in the town alone. The rest of it was a little far away from the town itself, as most of our time was in that condo in Cape Fear. But let's not forget, if I had to pick one really big thing worth mentioning at all, it would have to be the fishing charter. Yeah, we had a 6-hour-long trip along the coastline of North Carolina, that of which was for the purpose of fishing, in the form of a trawling station. Yeah, there was basically a few lines along with a big net meant for catching fish. And while it unfortunately only did as good as get us a couple of small fish, which we actually did have as a small snack, the big thing though is that it at least was an experience that I myself was pretty intrigued about. But for my brother Luke, not so much. He unfortunately got some really nasty seasickness, and even with these little supplements that he was going to have as a means to reduce the likelihood of him getting seasick, it's still kind of impressive. This is a guy who can do all sorts of crazy athleticism, bat home runs, and even have a wife, yet he can barely handle the sea? Man, I don't know if that's called irony or whatnot. I may not be married, and I may not have as much high-profile accolades as he has, but to be fair with you, I have my own path that I have forged, and I feel like I have gotten some success out of it as a result of my hard work and dedication. I mean, I have a few jobs in which that I have actually gotten real-life awards from. And if that's not enough, well, there's the everlasting praise I've gotten, as well as the attention I've gotten from that stuff. So, enough said. But apart from the trip in North Carolina that happened that August in 2023, there's not a whole lot more I could talk about here. I could talk about my job, I could talk about my stuff outside of my job, I could talk about the rail fanning I took during that year, because think about it. Since the start of the decade, I have managed to make it a bigger activity. But let's just say that rail fanning is probably going to be a more prominent topic for me to talk about when it comes to 2024. And maybe I'll have an entire video of the Vlog-A-Thon dedicated to it in and of itself. So if you want to see more, go down to my channel along with the final quarter of 2023 here on the Vlog-A-Thon. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side for more.